everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter. Welcome back to the show, guys. Man, oh man, what a week it has been here. The season has kicked off. 2025 is in full speed ahead. Just had a couple cat events from last weekend. We had one cat event from last weekend. We had I think it was a Region 4. Thomas and I will be coming away from another expo because expo season is still happening. And my boy Bass Geek is gotten an extra hour of daylight because I think it's not getting dark now until about 6 o'clock. So he is using up all the daylight he can to produce some great content for you all out on the water. Plus, he dropped a really cool video the other day. What was that little pink thing? It looked like a little spider you dropped. That was my hairy balls.
All right.
Thomas said, he had done relatively well on some hairy dice. So I got a hairy worm, some hairy balls, and some hairy dice. You know what I'm saying? So,
and he also bought baits.
Figured I'd just go ahead and give them all a try. If it was hairy, I figured I'd go ahead and throw it.
Hey, I had a sponsor one time called Bucktail Johnny's.
Well,
and they were making, it was real hair, making some hair jigs. You don't see many people make those anymore.
I do like, we call it the little ugly green jig down here, but
yeah,
I like some hair jigs now.
So yeah, Bucktail Johnny's back in the day, and I don't know if they're even still in business anymore, to be honest, because you don't see very many people making the hair jigs. It's a lot of work to it on top of that. And you can't charge what you really need to charge for a jig of that type. So it's like one of special order jigs and all that crazy crap. But yeah, guys, so we're still wrapping up not tournament, but we're still wrapping up expo season. I know Thomas has, by this time as it goes out, this will be Augusta County this past weekend. And then you have how many more left, Thomas?
3 or 4. Hold on. I was actually bringing this up for you. I have Fishing Pro Tech show down. I think it's in Williamsburg, Virginia. Then I have the West Virginia Flea Market. Then I have Jake's Bait and Tackle's kayak show, which is kind of like a car show where you get to bring out your pimped kayaks, and there's 4 different categories. People will vote on the best kayak. So if they bring food, beer, that's going to be a good time. After that point, I can actually fish, which will be nice. So can't wait.
Heck yeah. All right. So let's talk about that the Jake's Bait and Tackle kayak thing, because someone hit me up about it and asked me was I coming up there for it, and I said I had to ask the date because it gets crazy for me. But this is what, the second or third year of that event.
It is the third year we've been putting this on. It's March 8th, Saturday, March 8th. Starts at, I think if you want to actually enter your kayak, get there about 10 o'clock. You can enter it. Off the top of my head, since I'm not 100% managing it this year. This is the first year I'm not managing because I've gotten super busy. It's going to be like your big kayak that's fully pimped out, a river kayak. So that'll be a lot of inflatables, things like that. Then you also have a DIY. So anything that you do to your kayak under, I think it's like $1,200. And then we have a youth division. So it's awesome. It's cool because it's not just about getting something brand new, but it's seeing how people will pimp them out with different things. And in the Shenandoah Valley, there's some interesting river rigs, which I personally like. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Yes, me as well. Love the river. Definitely 110%.
That'd be the biggest reason why I'd like to have a kayak. But I'd like to have a Hobie because of the whole little paddle feeding things.
Yeah.
Because our rivers are wide, but they're shallow down here.
Yeah.
Yes. And you're going to hit a lot of rocks. Ain't that right? A lot of rocks. Geek.
I hit a lot of rocks in my bass boat. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So, Geek, what do we got coming out here real soon, man? I mean,
so for me, expo season is over. I do want to say that anybody that may be listening in Kentucky, we're going to be at Center College in Kentucky doing, I think it's the 25th. It's a Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month of February, doing a seminar there on open water, top water for summer bass, which is something I've been doing for a long time now, and, fishing top water over ledges and that sort of stuff. As far as videos go, we got, we dropped the last sort of expo unboxing expo. What did I spend my money on stuff? So now we're getting back into, we really filmed an advanced class on spring A rigs, which is something I love an A rig, and I'm really geeky about that. Coming up soon, we're doing the February bait guide, which should be out the day before this drops. So
okay, sweet. Talking about the A rig, the first Cat Bass King solo event. The young man said he won it on the A rig on the beautiful Smith Mountain Lake. So congratulations to him. And I didn't write down his name, and I apologize. But you guys can go head on over to the basscast.com Facebook page and see the interview that we did with him last week after the first Cat regular season event on Smith Mountain Lake occurred. Guys, Cat, Smith Mountain Lake is on fire right now. If you do not have 20 plus pounds, you do not get a check. You get points because all points count for a lot of these tournaments, but it's showing out. I think Ben and Brandon Reynolds ended up winning the regular Cat event. I think they had like 23, 24 pounds right around there. So congratulations to them.
That lake has recovered so well since the LBV hit back in the day.
Yeah. And now since the introductory of the tiger bass in Smith Mountain Lake, and that's been good God. I say 10 years now. Time just rolls. But 10 years now, so that we're still waiting on the 10-pound bass, but we might see it this year. Never know. But I'll tell you one thing. I hope I'm there when it happens. I'll tell you that right now. It'd be awesome as crap.
I'm amazed those bass really took off in that lake, though, because most of the time those Florida strain or those tiger bass really need grass to do real well.
I heard some of the grass is coming back.
Ooh.
That's what I was told. And I really don't know. I haven't had a tour of the lake lately. It's been a year or two since I really been on it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But I heard it's coming back. Thomas, his eyes lit up like Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, if you tune in late April, I already have pre-recorded an episode with the biologist that runs Smith Mountain Lake, and we talk about his 2024 fishing shock report survey and also the F1 Tiger Bass program in Virginia, how it got started and where it is at Smith Mountain Lake. It is 7 years old. 7 years old this summer. So we are just now going to be seeing potentially the 10-pound bass alert go in next year is kind of when they're hoping for it because of how many generations you have to be stocking and then potentially have one kick in. But to give you an idea is look at Lake Anna right now. Lake Anna just almost cracked 40 pounds for its best 5. It was like 38.7. And he said he saw a bunch of different big ones on his scope that he didn't get to. And Odenkirk called in. He said, like, yeah, the F1s aren't even showing up yet. So that's another one that could absolutely go bonkers here in the next couple of years. Virginia's on the uptick with fisheries. It really is.
Yeah. So come on down and fish Virginia lakes. I'm not a part of Fish Virginia, but I got the stickers. So come on down, fish, hang out with us, and enjoy Smith Mountain Lake. Like I said, Lake Anna, bugs are starting to make a little bit of comeback. We're still, still on the, still on the bubble on that one, but there's a lot of great lakes around here. All right, guys, we got a special guest who's not really special, but we call him a special guest anyway.
Dave is special. Come on.
Dave is special. We've had Dave on so many shows. Like Dave's a regular now. We had John.
That's true. So okay.
So what is this? So before Thomas showed up, we had Soak Up on like 12 episodes or some crap. I mean, he was crushing it. And we had Soak Up on, so we kind of called him a laughing regular. Not laughing.
We're going to have to do something like the Saturday Night Live, like when you host like 4 shows or 8 shows. So Dave now he gets a jacket.
Something like that. I think he gets a Basscast lapel pin or something like that. Hey, welcome back to Basscast Radio. As you guys see who are watching on YouTube, which I hope you all have subscribed, and thank you to all our new subscribers. Dave is fishing the Bassmaster Opens in 2025. You guys know he's been in the Major League Fishing side for quite a while, and he's moved over. Start off why you made the move first to the Opens, and then we're going to talk about the first event. We're going to highlight that a little bit, and then we're going to just talk bass fishing, man.
Yeah, man. I got the invite to the invitationals, and around the time I got the invite is when the opens, the deadline basically pops up early November. So I didn't know I was going to get the invite to the invitationals. I'm like, this is cool, and then I'm looking at the schedule for the opens. I'm like, okay, I might have a change of heart here, make the switch back to bass. And I had a decision to make, and the invitationals seems like it would have been a good move for me career wise in the sport and everything, but I'm looking at it like we spoke on one of the previous podcasts when we were talking about the cost and everything else associated with this. And I was kind of like, all right, well, what if I stay at the Toyota level and keep doing the BFLs and keep trying to chase that All-American carrot? But they made a lot of changes to the invitationals, to the Toyotas, and to the BFLs, and none of which I was really excited about. And looking at basically they didn't really make a lot of changes to the opens. It was more or less they restructured it, and then they made it a level playing field in regards to transducers and screen size and everything. So everybody's kind of like gonna have the same thing. I was like, you know what? I think the opens is the way to go. So I kind of, nothing against MLF by any means, but there's, I think for me, making the switch to the opens was a smarter move. Also, if let's say I stuck with the BFLs and the Toyotas and I didn't want to do the invitationals, I got one opportunity after 7 events, and we all know how much it's going to cost me living up here in Connecticut to do a BFL tour, not to mention the Toyotas. That's one opportunity to make the All-American. Doing the opens, I have potentially 7 opportunities to make the classic.
Yeah.
So, what let's be real here. 7 opportunities for the classic, 1 opportunity for the All-American. What would you rather do? It's kind of speaks for itself. So, granted, with the restructuring, I have to do the 4 events and then the 3 EQs to get the full 7. But still, even if I didn't make the EQs, I just do the first 4, the 1 division. There's still 4 opportunities for the classic. So that was basically what drove my decision, and here I am doing the 2025 opens, and I plan on doing the opens for at least the next 3 years.
So we were talking off, about it real quick, and we all know the opens got rid of the co-anglers, and
yes.
Everybody was pretty daggone excited about that. So that kind of helped, the playing field as well. We saw this past week, we had our first Major League Fishing event, and we saw, their new structured format about using the live scope, different periods, and what is it? You can only use it 1 period for the day. And, it's a whole lot of rules to keep up with now. And Major League Fishing really did open up a can of worms, if you ask me, on the rules side of it.
Even on the
they did it on purpose.
Go ahead.
Even on the invitationals, like you can use scope day 1, day 2 you can't, and then day 3 you could use it again. I'm like, come on, you're either going to use it or you're not going to use it. It's
riding the fence.
Yeah, whereas the opens, they made a decision. Everybody might not be happy with it or not happy with it, whatever the case is, but at least it's a level playing field across the board.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable. So I'm cool with it. I'm competing in it. I do want to mention something about the co-anglers. Have you guys heard anything, regards to when they decided to announce releasing the co-anglers, like what people's perspective is on that?
I'll be honest,
it was kind of like caught me off guard because I was actually planning to travel with somebody, and that was gonna work out pretty cool. it's kind of like a last minute deal when they dropped the codes. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
So,
it was later in the off season, and that actually is, I hadn't thought about that, but traveling, because you can get several 2-3 boaters and 2-3 co's, and that's interesting how that's going to raise travel expenses for a lot of the pros.
I'll be honest, when I dropped the press release myself, I thought it was going to be this big bomb. Now, I did hear, a couple, I did see some different people on social media that said, well, there goes my season. Because, there was a couple of people that I knew that had planned on fishing the Opens as co's, but the rest of the world was like cheering from the rooftop. I mean, it was...
Because coing is dying. Why is it?
Yes,
I agree.
I mean, it's like playing football without a helmet. It's like, okay, Grandpa, sit back down and reminisce about World War One.
Which I think they should play football with no face mask or helmets.
Plus, I'm asking the wrong person.
Want to solve the concussion issue? There we go. No, different
topic. But yeah, we've been talking about it going away for a while now, and I get it. There are people that like it, but it's just, it sucks. But guess what? Printed word went away a little bit to digital. CDs got destroyed by like the iTunes and the different kind of ways you can listen to music with an iPod. And that's what you're looking here is just the evolution of the sport. You can get into kayak fishing. You can do bank fishing tournaments, month-long events. There are so many different ways you can do it. And the cost is so extraordinary that, again, this has been my whole thesis. Yeah. Once your cost is, as a boater, is that much, why not have the added benefit of having the boat to yourself? Because again, it's insane.
I agree. Whether it be a kayak, and I think you're right, Thomas. I think more than forward facing sonar. I think more than anything else, kayaking killed the co-angler because look, unless you're a sick and twisted individual with major problems. Who wants to be a daggone co-angler? Nobody wants to be a co-angler. Nobody. The only way you want to be a co-angler is to learn to a certain extent. And you'll get enough of that on the BFLs, in my opinion. I mean, yes, I trust me, I do get it. You do get an opportunity to fish with much better sticks on the open level. But if it's truly an EQ for the boaters, then my opinion is you need to do away with co-anglers. And
I agree with you as well, 100% on that. Because, like you said, once it does get to a certain cost level, you're really playing with house. You're playing like with big time money now. It's not the couple $100. Oh crap! I lost a couple $100 or $100 or so this weekend. I lost thousands. By the time, like Dave was talking about room, board, gas, fuel, practice, you're talking about losing thousands of dollars because you're trying to help your co-angler maybe catch a couple.
And I coed for 4 years, and hated every second of it, despised it, and not because of the boaters. Like, don't get me wrong, and I wasn't an overly competitive co-angler. I was out there to learn, but jumping in somebody else's truck in the middle of the chaos that is the BFLs and backing it down in the middle of the dark and then parking it and then going and getting it when everybody's weighing in, I was sick to my stomach just doing that sort of stuff, and then I mean, and realistically probably 75% of the guys that I fished with, I felt like I was better than, but I was learning the lakes, learning the layout of that. And you gotta, I mean, I don't know, you're carrying all your stuff and it's always such a pain in the rear end, and then trying to find your ride when with the guy that you're traveling with. I just, man, like I said, you've got to be a sick and twisted individual that just loves to, you're a sawdust. That's all I know.
And honestly, I just feel like I fish better. I didn't understand it until, again, I'm splitting time. Half of it's in a kayak, half it's in a bass boat. And I've learned, I didn't understand it, and I overlaid it where it's like my finishes in kayaking were so much better. And then I realized the biggest thing is like, there's nobody in the boat with me. It is just me and my voices, and I'm
boat
not
positioning.
Boat positioning. I don't care about anything else. No one's. I'm not talking to somebody, which is I'm not. There's some great guys out there. Some of my best friends. Like I just it distracts me. The last tournament of the year, which was the classic up at Big Slack. It was a team tournament. I went out by myself. I was listening to the Redskins in the back, and I won the damn thing going away. I was just more relaxed and dialed in. I didn't have any distractions, and I think that's a big thing I'm realizing going into this year, where I might fish a few more team events alone to kind of test that. But SB's told me that too. He's like, yeah, you just even if it's your best friend. If it's not the right mix and you're just chatting the whole time, you're not dialed into what's going on. And so I think for a lot of people, they might find out they fish better in this format.
I've got a couple of friends that I know that have fished solo pretty much the whole time I've ever met them. And I mean, they say, I got a better chance. I don't mind doing it all by myself. Of the day. But Dave, you just wrapped up stop number 1. I don't want to say what you told me. But what was your biggest takeaway from your first open event of the 2025 season? If you look back,
it was excellent, and I enjoyed not having a co-angler. But real quick though, on the co-angler thing, I think there is a place for co-anglers in the sport.
Yeah.
Club level, especially. Yes. Club level is fantastic place for
Club and
people to get
BFL.
Introduced to it.
Yeah, perfect.
BFL. But when you're even at the Toyotas and you're seeing guys that are like professional co-anglers, it's like I don't understand it.
They're sick and twisted, I tell you.
At what point do you buy a boat? Like, and I'm not trying to throw shade on people, but it's like, seriously, let's be real here. Like there's guys that are co-anglers that have been doing it for decades that can't back a trailer down. Like what happens if they run to a certain extent where they go to a major event and now they have a boat they have to fish out of, and they can't do it. It's crazy. I don't know, but don't get me wrong. I think there's a great place for co's in the sport, in the BFL level, club level, buddy tournaments, stuff like that. I think it's fantastic.
No, it's like your kids. You love them, but they also shouldn't be seen or heard sometimes. It's the same thing.
If you ask me real quick, that is like being a student teacher, like your whole entire career, and you're in different classrooms every time, and none of the kids are just getting crapped on the whole damn time.
And again, it's a great place to learn. It really is.
Yeah. But you learn.
And I always say, when I say it's a great place to learn, it's not necessarily a great place to learn how to fish those lakes, because only about 5 or 10% of the anglers are going to do well. So you can't go in expecting. Sometimes you go in learning what not to do, but at least you learn your way around the lakes. Mm-hmm. You learn what it's like to be in a melee of a big tournament as everybody's rushing to get their boats in and out and go home. You learn the process, and you also, again, fishing is about community. And if you don't have, for me, I never really had anybody that tournament fish. So I grew my community by just going in as a co-angler as the BFL. So, it's a good place to start, and the club level is a good place to start. But if you can't afford a bass boat, get a kayak, because you're going to have a lot more fun calling your own shots.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that later. We got another kayak topic we're going to dive into, which is a big jump that, Thomas and I sent the press release out last week.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm interested.
And it was a really big for the kayak industry. But get back to the question there, Dave. You say you didn't have a great event, but, that happens. But like I said, being a part of the Opens, meeting new anglers and being a part of that part of the organization, what were some of your takeaways from your stop number 1?
Yeah, no, it was ran fantastic. I learned a new fishery. It's not that I didn't do good. I just couldn't find the big bites. I caught a ridiculous number of fish there.
Wow.
More than I expected to catch for sure. Learned, got to dial in some different techniques and stuff, overall, I think the Opens, I think it reassured me that making a switch to the Opens was the right decision. There's some events on the schedule that, I've done very well in these fisheries, and I plan to keep that streak going. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the decision and the route that this is going. I think, I definitely think the Opens are great. I'm just surprised that I'm doing Division 1, and I'm very surprised that it's not a full field.
Yeah, I was
going to
gonna
bring
ask
that up
you.
because we had looked at that and it wasn't a full field for this past event.
And for anybody that don't know, tell them what division you're fishing and where your first stop was.
Yeah, so I'm in Division 1. The first stop was on Clarks Hill in Georgia.
Yeah.
Shout out to the good folks at Georgia. They did an excellent job at the ramp the morning of, salting the ramp and everything. So shout out those guys at the Public Works. Yeah, the Division 1, Division 2, I believe they start in February. I gotta double check the schedule, but the pretty sure February is when Division 2 starts. I believe there is a waiting list for Division 2. And I not for nothing though, with the when we were talking about them getting rid of the co's and splitting costs and everything, I had an Airbnb booked, and there was going to be 4 of us at the Airbnb, 2 boats and 2 co's. And then when they dropped the co's, the other boater backed out because he was planning on doing the whole thing with the buddy. My buddy that was signed up as a co, he ended up backing out. So I ended up finding another boater to split the Airbnb with. So I'm wondering if the dropping the co's because of this division, and some people say it's because of schedule, because like the Tom Bigby River, I guess, is not like a great fishery or whatever. It's like a tough fishery. So a lot of people are like, hey, I'm in New York, Maine, Maryland. They don't want to drive to the Mississippi for something that they're just donating money, if that's their perspective on it. So I think the code thing might have had something to do with them not filling the field, because I saw it firsthand, with the.
It's also growing pains. I mean, the first year they did this, they did it a little late, of course, because I think everything's knee jerk. If they did this in July or August, would it be different? I don't know. And
Probably
again,
not. People would have had time to get their ducks in a row.
Yeah, they did it late.
And the other thing is, we hate to use the E word here, but election. All the shows I've been to, they were down a little bit. They weren't great. And, it wasn't the big dogs like the one up in Antarctica where you are, Dave, or Tennessee, that are bigger. The swim bait culture up in New England.
Tennessee might have been a little down too.
You think so?
Yeah. Little. So, I mean, it's a big show, but it seemed, a little down.
It's expensive to drive a boat from anywhere, especially, let's say if you're in the DMV where I'm in, Northern Virginia, the only place that's close is the Potomac River. Smith is 4 to 5 hours. Kerr is longer if you live in Northern Virginia. Wow. Upper Bay, you have to go through Baltimore and DC, which is a delight to do. That's a lot of gas you're burning. I am scared about how much petrol Dave has to do to come all the way down from Canada where he's at. So the point is, like, unless
wait, Canada?
Dave's got one of those quick siphons that they sell at the show.
But the point is, like, unless you live on like
Walmart,
unless you live on like Gunnersville or like right on the juice of these places, that's a lot of money. Isn't this why
we see so many people come down here? I mean, we've seen a lot of big pros make the move. I mean, if you're really this is your bread and butter, and this is your job, I'm sorry, Dave, we love you, but you're crazy as hell to be up there. I mean, a lot of people are all moving this direction because this is where the money's at. This is where all the tournaments are. And like you were saying, Thomas, we have, the BFL's Virginia divisions, the Piedmont and the Shenandoah. And a lot of people will look at the schedule at the beginning of the year, and wherever their 2-day championship, I think it's what it is, wherever that ends up being at the end of the year is what pretty much a lot of them decide, unless you really are just one that's going to fish them all. Now, it's a lot of guys here. I've got one, I know, Chris Brummett, he won, he fished both divisions. He won both divisions. But I mean, it's a lot of them will pick one and say, okay, I can only afford to do X, and it's going to be X,
And again, I hate to be, because as I will always say to their show, I still own a Ranger boat. I'm looking for a new boat. If anyone's out there that wants a sponsor, I'll take a boat. But from the kayak guys, I had some friends that went down to the one of the Harris chain. You can get a trailer. They had 4 kayaks in one trailer, and they all carpooled down to share money. They also got to fish the event in their individual thing, but just think about just from the savings that is, where you can throw all these rigs into one trailer and just go somewhere. You can't do that if your carpooling is 3 or 4 boaters. Everyone has to eat that cost heading down to Florida.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it really, it's, I don't know. It's a big job, big expense.
No, another point for me switching to the opens is, like, let's just say I'm doing Division 1, not the EQs.
Right.
Is a few less events. It's going to cost me less than doing the BFLs.
Wow.
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Because the amount of gas. I mean, it is what it is. I'm going to do 4 opens and save money from doing the BFLs.
Mm.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, a lot of people will look at the schedule and
entry fees included, because the entry fees are no joke with the opens. The BFLs, a few $100, whatever. But because you got the 6 events, and then I think the regional this year is on the James.
Okay.
No, so I'm gonna make 2 trips to the Potomac and 1 trip to the James. That alone is like 2 opens, and then the other ones are in New York. But these are the Bay. The Bay is like 3.5 hours from me, and then St. Lawrence. Well, St. Lawrence is like 5.5, 6, but I don't have to drive through New York City and Jersey and all that. I just hop on, 81 and just head north, and there's no traffic. You're driving through the mountains.
And I'll also say what's interesting about that too is when you get up into the Mid-Atlantic, where I guess Dave and I are. I'm on the lower end of the Mid-Atlantic. He's on the upper end. There's not a lot of places to get cheap housing, like the Potomac River, Upper Bay, Jersey area. Like, it's not cheap Airbnb like Kerr, where you have a banjo in the background. It's expensive. And I just know some friends.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier before you guys all came on, and we were talking about the housing issue and the prices and all that crazy mess. And you're right. I mean, it's a whole, it's a whole lot more goes into this thing, guys, than just picking a series and deciding I'm going to fish it. I mean,
not for nothing too, with the Toyotas, I was doing 5 days of practice, 5 to 6 days of practice, and then a day of travel, with the opens being 3 practice days. That's all you got, because it's off limits. So I'm actually saving money there too, because that's like a day or 2 less I'm spending on an Airbnb or a hotel.
Yeah.
So it's pretty astounding, like, when you think about the cost of a major trail versus the BFLs, like the difference.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, especially with the entry fee, the difference in the entry fee between that and something like the BFLs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm saving money, but more money is going to the entry fee, the opens.
Yeah.
The other way is more money is going towards hotels and gas and tolls. So
wow,
it's crazy.
And this is why I think you're seeing such a resurgence in this regional tournament structure. The classic one for our area in Virginia, the Elite Series, you have the teams elites that Steve Camp puts on. You have the Alpha Series. If I had to put stocks in a growing thing, you're going to see more and more regional organizations kind of glump up, because you have this in Texas, right? You don't technically have to leave Texas or maybe Florida, and you can make a decent living as an angler. When are we going to have a true?
I got one on Bogues Island. He doesn't do anything but cash checks. So I mean, and that's all he does: fish one lake. He makes damn good money.
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee's got the Morristown Marine, $10,000 for first place team trail, and $30,000 for the classic, and then you've got the Tennessee team trail, which is not far off of that.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's so much out there these days, and they pay really freaking well. But you know, the entry fee is not, you know, it's anywhere between $100 to $200 an event, but the payback's amazing. So I mean, unless you really, really want to chase, and that's what's kind of happened with the Bass Nation of Virginia, and a lot of these, you know, the sister Bass Nation clubs, you know, they're spread out through all the different states. One, they introduced, you know, some team series, some different ways to get into the classic, and two, unless you really had the time to dedicate to that, because you had to fish so many events, so many days of practice. And, you know, these are for weekend warriors. And then if you let's say you made the state team, then you got to go fish the division. So that's 5 days during the week. So, I mean, you're talking about dedicating all your vacation to Bass Nation of Virginia to have a chance. And it's just, unless you really want to go that path of the Bassmaster Classic, you know, to fish a Bassmaster Classic, then there's no reason why. I mean, you can, like you said, pick up an open somewhere, go fish 2 or 3 of the opens or something. Your chances are a heck of a lot better, and you're going to use less vacation time if you're really thinking about that. But a lot of people that do fish the opens are self-employed, and that, you know, that's the blessing about it. They own their own business. They're a guide. Dave, you're a guide. I know that. But you know, they kind of schedule and they run their own business. But it's just so much goes into it, and so much daggone commitment. We can pidget, you know, turn it a little bit this way. Some news that came last week, and I know this is something because Thomas is a big kayak angler here. The college kids are going to start fishing a kayak series this year. They introduced the college fishing series in 2025, which was pretty freaking. I mean, that was some big daggone news but we had talked about it on the show that they'd actually make this, you know, pivot here to the college kids and offer it to them because college fishing is so daggone big. And, you know, we had gentlemen on last week fished the college series, and, you know, he was talking about 25, 30 clubs. So you could take half of that, put them in a kayak, and they're going to have to find some big bodies of water.
I mean, that's a whole, how much time we got? I mean, yeah, are we shocked? Corporate America found another way to squeeze kids. I mean, this was coming. Look at what they did with boat guys. The problem is boats cost the GDP of an African country. And so what I am interested in is, again, and Brian, you and I talked about this, and 2 days later, Torquedo got bought up by Yamaha.
Yep.
When is the switch? Because if you start doing this, unlike Bassmaster and Major League Fishing and all this other stuff, you financially, as a kid out of college, unless mommy and daddy's got some deep pockets or you're doing something that's not legal, you can't afford a brand new boat out of college. Most people can't. I'm saying a majority of college kids can afford a kayak that's pimped out and can add to it. That's something that's feasible. And so the barrier to entry is now completely lower. And if they start advertising and promoting this at a college level and this gets growth, if they truly just cared about their boat industry, they wouldn't be doing this. They're doing this because I think they understand the market. They're reading the tea leaves that this is going to be a big thing. They don't know how big compared to boats, but they don't care because they think it's going to be able to help their bottom line. And so what does this mean in 5, 10, 15 years? Catch, weigh, release is financially a lot easier than driving a stage all over God's earth. It is. I can, while I'm on a live stream, check my tournament results and adjust it. So from a logistics standpoint, Bass must be dreaming it must be cheaper for them to do this. Just have a college, just to have the after party. Boom, you're done. And you're good to go. So I get scared about this because if you're Boyd Duckett, you got to be licking your lips that the weigh-in format, it's just slowly, like the co-angler, is it going away? And you just got to stay alive a couple more years until everyone's fishing your format. Because if you're thinking about this, is my last thing, I'll start ranting here. If you're saying that there's a group of people that are fine with kayak fishing, that means they're fine with catch, weigh, measure, photo, release, basically. They're used to that system, which means this other one is the antiquated one that they're not growing up with.
But there's also, but like you said earlier, there's just another way for them to make money on top of that.
Yeah.
And
but you're changing your marketing base. You're changing your base by doing it.
You are. And you're talking about pimping a kayak. I mean, heck, you can pimp for like around $5K. You can put together a really nice kayak. One good fish finder on there, a good kayak and a seat's about $2,000 now because all it's come down. And then, heck, that could be line, rods, and reels and everything for $5,000. But I mean, go ahead. I was thinking.
And here's the last point I'll say to this is if they don't make the mistake that Bassmaster Kayak is doing, you can fish anywhere. Lynchburg College can fish the Upper James River as a part of their tournament series. You don't need a Kentucky Lake size lake to go off of. The Susquehanna River got put on the map because of kayaking. So Dan, a big DTV who just went to James Madison University in Virginia to join the Bass Club, kicked ass in kayak fishing at first, got money together, and he was able to get a used tracker boat, and he went to Florida to fish for the team. So, but he was never a lake guy. He was a river rat. But because kayak fishing allowed for tournaments on these new bodies of water, it got exposed to all these different sticks. So that's going to be interesting when you throw that into the mix of where you're going to start seeing anglers coming from, I think, personally.
So we're going to watch that over the this 2025 season. We're really excited to see the college kayak fishing and see the layout of that and how it all gets set up. Also, like I said earlier, we got our first Major League Fishing Bass Pro Series event, guys. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted. I really wanted to watch more, but I had other priorities that are more important. But we got to see some, this new transducer per period, no transducer, no forward-facing sonar, and we had a different winner. And we got to see a lot of skills come out here, and we got to see a lot of the guys that stare at the screen all day got sent home. So it was pretty interesting of an event to see how this thing's going to line up. I'm excited to see it. I think it's great. I think it's going to show the people who can fish with and without. This is going to be. You think it's going to level the playing field, Geek, or what are you're shaking over there, Geek? So I know you got thoughts. But I know that
there was a lot of the same people at the top.
There was a lot of people at the same time.
There's a lot of same people.
We had Jake Wheeler.
The whole knock is on most of those guys. Most of those guys were using the live scope to catch a lot of fish too in the period that they had.
Right.
So there was, to me, I don't know, man, you're never going to slow technology. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
But it was pretty strategic that the time you had your live scope, because, every fish counts, you had to make the best of your time right there.
Yes. And
that part was kind of cool that, and then after that, you kind of went in, picked up what you wanted, but you saw the weights like drop. Every fish count started dwindling down to just a few each hour instead of that 10, 15, 20.
But now I didn't get to watch.
I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted.
I'll say I've seen a lot of comments where everybody were still going, it's boring. I'm like, you're still just staring at the back of somebody, man. You're still just, it doesn't matter if you're throwing a spinner bait or a jig, you're still just staring at the back of their head. It don't matter.
It's trying to convince a Philly fan to root for the Cowboys. You're never going to do it. It's just not going to happen. It's that bad. I think MLF is basically run by Vince McMahon at this point, and I think they thought this style would be so confusing and contrived it'd bring eyeballs. Because you could see, like, when scope was in play, like, there was a distinct advantage, and I bet they knew they'd get the hate clicks. Like, I have to think it's so crazy, it's brilliant from that kind of, because example is when the NPFL kicks off in a couple of events, and they're all 88 years old talking about World War II, and they're catching 10 pounds. How long is that going to keep the ratings? I could be wrong, but this drives hate clicks. It drives a curiosity to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So we'll see how it continues.
What's your take on it, Dave?
First, shout out Nick LeBrun.
Yes.
He did an excellent job.
Who is always at the top.
Yeah.
Who's always at the top.
Yeah, he's a hammer for sure. He's a great stick. Also, shout out Colby Miller. This is his rookie year, and he was in the top 10. Yeah, I think it was interesting. I didn't watch the entirety of it, and then I was really confused too because Nick didn't fish on Saturday. So I'm like, wait, because you won on Friday, you don't have to fish Saturday, but then you got to come back for Sunday. That I was like, I'm done. But I personally can't stand the every fish counts format. Top best 5 or don't bother. Like, I don't know.
I don't mind that as long as it's adjustable. Like if you're fishing Okeechobee,
I think it is
pounder shouldn't count. A 1 pounder should count.
2
pounders should count. But you know, I mean, I think a 3 pounder should be the limit. But now, if you're hitting Cherokee Lake down here, I mean, you might even want to count half pounders. You know what I'm saying?
What was that lake that Stetson Blaylock won? Was that Winyah Bay?
I think so.
I have to look it up.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up too.
It was a bass event, and he won with like I don't know, 10 pounds a day. I don't know. Just call me a liar. I don't remember. This was several years ago, but that event that was pre-scope, and he put them in the box. They're small fish, you know. So it's not the size of the fish that drives me nuts with the every fish counts format. It's the every fish count format itself. It should be your best 5. You could go catch 100 fish, but I want the total weight of your best 5. That was another thing that swayed my decision to go to the Opens too, because if I did do the invitationals and I miraculously made the Bass Pro Tour, that's not even a format I would really be comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, you got guys, legends, you know, like Thrift and Hackney and stuff. It's like I'd pay money to watch Hackney flip all day or Thrift do his finesse deal or top order deal. I just can't do the.
It's a cultural difference. That's why when this first started, I thought it was great to have like your National League and your American League. 5 fish, all the fish, and you have the crossover. Because I still think to this day, the best angler ever is the one that wins in both formats, period. Like, okay, you're great at 5, but you suck at catching every fish. And even Jacob Wheeler is like, hold my beer. 5 fish, every fish, 2 fish, I'll kick your ass at all. And that's where I slow clap. Like, all right, dude, you're getting more up to Kevin Van Dam because you don't give a shit the format. You're just going to take everyone's money, which is impressive.
But we also saw different winners too. We also saw a different, you know, when it went to back to the 5 fish, we saw different guys at the top of that league. Even though Jacob still did great, please, hell of an angler. We saw other anglers' names up at the top of the list that they were more, you know, they were used to that format.
It's interesting. Like, I'm trying to think of a football analogy, which is not even my sport, but some teams are really good at like the Bills. They can run the ball and control the clock, and that's how they're going to win. And that's kind of, to me, is like a 5 fish angler versus you need every fish count is you are a high powered offense and you got to keep the pressure on indefinitely. You know, you don't have a defense worth shit, but you're going to outscore them. And so you have that unstoppable force, immovable object, it kind of seems like. And I don't know. I think it's mentally, it's a mental and cultural standpoint when you get out there of like, do you feel like you can sit and just wait for your best 5 versus the guy that kind of can hybrid it? And I'm going to look for the best fish, but I know I got to keep putting the pressure on.
I saw an interview with Mike McClellan. What is his last name? And McClellan, yeah. And he was talking about that and going back to the Opens. And he just said, you know, that format just did not work from him. I mean, it was, you know, and I ain't gonna say a lot of the guys on the bottom said that, but you could kind of see that. But a lot of the guys that we saw on the bottom did not start with Major League Fishing. You know, I mean, they didn't, you know what I'm saying? They started with they started like Bass, so they started with an Open, and then it went over to Major League Fishing and worked their way up and, you know, got on the BP, you know, the tour itself. But they had already come from that 5 fish limit and just couldn't put it all together when it came to that every fish counts format.
See, for me, it's all about, you know, I kind of relate it back to just being on the water. There's 2 types of good days: a good 5 fish bag and a shitload of fish.
Yeah.
You know, so I like both. I'm not really like super opposed to either one. If I'm
I watch both.
catching like 2-pounders, I want to catch 30 of those sons of bitches. If I'm catching, you know, big ones, okay, I'm good with like 4 or 5.
So it's cool because I will, and I think it's such an indicative thing. I'll watch Bass Live usually day 1, 2, and 3 until by like day 3, guy has like a 4 or 5 pound lead, and I kind of, I admit I check out because guess what? 5 fish, it's over. There's a lot of times on that final day of MLF, it's like you can run the score up. It technically is never over until the clock is out. That is such a different mindset from a viewer. That if you have Justin Lucas with a 15-pound lead in the Potomac when he drives up there, it's like, okay, just go to bed, because unless his boat sinks, he's won. It's over. In theory, that can't happen in that Major League Fishing format. So from a viewer, I get why that whole concept became what it is, because you have a ticking clock. You have that pressure cooker. You got to keep going. It might suck to fish, but that's where the allure is, I think, from an audience standpoint. And the last thing I'll say is the coolest thing ever from that format was when Justin Lucas went up to Green Bay the first time and he caught 500 pounds of fish in one day. And it was every minute and a half he was weighing one. Maybe that's more of showing Green Bay off for the first time, that area, which was cool. But the fact that he got in such a pattern of catch, weigh, get back in the front, catch, weigh, to do that, it was athletically cool to see.
So, guys, go ahead.
Real quick, another point with the 5 fish to every fish counts format, it also depends on where you fish a lot, because like here in Connecticut, if you fish a lot of pressured fisheries, I'm talking about local stuff, you know. If that's like your mentality, like, hey, I gotta slow down, I gotta, you know, and then you go somewhere like I just went to Clark's, I was catching 45, 50, 60 fish a day. I'm like, wow, like I can't do that in Candlewood. I could probably do 15, 20 fish, maybe, but it could be a deal like that too, where like the anglers that are really if you're really good at catching 5, like, and going for targeting the bigger fish and doing that, it's probably more of an eye-opening experience going to these fisheries where they're on fire and you can put numbers in the boat, like, because people aren't used to doing that, you know. It's, I don't know, just perspective.
I think that's where, you know, an adjustable based on the lake size limit would help as far as every fish counts. But, you know, you remember the, what was it, Out West Trail, Brian?
The Wild Wild West series.
The Wild Wild West, they kind of did a hybrid. So I don't remember exactly how it went, but somehow the last day.
They did inches as well as pounds.
Well, they did, so they did, like, but wasn't one of them like every fish, like whoever had the most inches, most fish?
Yeah, it was the most inches.
Yeah.
So they did some crazy stuff out there in the Wild Wild West series.
And that's because of that kayak culture, the inches. And the thing is, I had Shane Flint, who's pretty much runs he has one of the biggest, I think, online tournament organizations in the United States. And he told me, he's like 5 to 6 years, you're going to weigh your fish digitally and not even think about it. He's like, the technology's coming. It's just where these bubble scales are going to be so dialed, doing tournaments online for weight. It's not fantasy, which is crazy with the AI and technology. And I don't know. I mean, Dave, what are your thoughts on catch, weigh, release then for 5 fish? In Maryland, we kind of have to, because our government sucks and you can't put a fish on a live well for like 5 months out of the year. But I don't know what it's like up in your neck of the woods.
Well, my thing with the catch, weigh, release thing is like, how is it policed for integrity? Like it's when there's money involved, you know, people do some crazy things, and we've seen that over the past couple of years.
But I've always said too, I mean, you know, team tournaments, you know, like I said, these, you know, I've never heard of anybody cheating, but I mean, if you're going to cheat, you're looking at you're fishing a team tournament with your buddy. I mean, he ain't gonna tell on you. They're gonna split that check and take it. So how are they policing that? So I mean, it's realistically already there. I mean, if you're fishing for 10 grand or 30 grand in a team tournament, and you got a couple of guys that are going to cheat, they're not turning each other in. I mean, truthfully.
The only logical way I see this happening, if I ever ran an organization with big payouts, it would be you're getting a GoPro. It has to be on. If it turns off for any reason, you're getting polygraphed, and if it's a split second, you're getting a penalty or something like that. You're signing the contract before you enter my tournament in case you win. I mean, cameras are getting cheap. Like that's where it's going to go to cover your butt.
Getting cheap, but unreliable too.
I mean,
that GoPro this week.
No, I agree with you, but that's where you have to do is have like a dash cam in these boats, just to be honest. I mean, the same thing. DJI is way better, but because like if you see all these solo events, I'm gonna foresee here in a couple of years, once people start doing cheating, because someone will be dumb enough to do it, you're going to have a cat or a camp being like, hey, listen, you're going to have something recording. If you can afford to come to one of these events, you can afford to get a camera to make sure that you're not cheating. It's going to happen. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. It's a good insurance policy too. Like if you are fishing by yourself, why do you want to be accused of cheating? Just keep the damn camera going. Just like if you were in a car, so you can be like, hey, listen, I have evidence I didn't cheat.
Yeah.
Well, the cheating subject is a whole new subject, a whole different subject. We you know, hopefully, let's hope, guys, you know, we're kicking off the 2025 season. Let's hope the season goes well, nice and quiet this year. Everyone pretty much behaves themselves, but I know that's not the world of tournament bass fishing because there is money on the line. Guys, like I said, right around the corner, this month is the first Bassmaster event. If you're not playing fantasy fishing with the basscast.com, you can head on over right now and sign up through our Facebook page. Everything you need to know is there. I think we're up to about 37 different participants right now. So thank you to everyone who signed up. It blew up real quick. So head on over and play fantasy fishing. The overall winner will take home a $100 gift card from Discount Tackle. Thank you to them. But we got that. Another open right around the corner. And the BFLs and all really start kicking up. I think we've had like about one or two here lately in some lower states where it's been gotten a little bit warmer already. So the season's right around the corner, and it's time to get rolling. Before we go, Dave, ready for stop 2? Thoughts on stop number 2? And then we'll go around the room like we always do, and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Getting out to Mississippi. First time gonna fish this this river. Looks interesting from the research I've done so far. It looks like it's gonna be up my alley, like a little flipping deal.
Nice.
Some power fishing, so shallow water, heavy line, heavy baits, hopefully a heavy fish. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the bay being Thomas's neck of the woods and in the Northeast in July, and then be heading up to the St. Lawrence River shortly after. So
boom.
Yeah, season is shaping up to be good.
All right, go ahead and follow Dave Miller on Instagram. That's where he posts all his content. You guys can follow along the 2025 season. Geek, like I said, be pumping out some videos. Is there any video that we like? Make sure you, first of all, let's get Geek to 100,000 this year. Guys, what is wrong with you? Go hit the subscribe and follow button, hit notification, the bell, whatever it is. Make sure you guys head on over and hit the bell. But anything big kind of dropping, we got, keep your eyes on here really soon.
Well, one thing I don't think I've ever actually talked about on here is we do a, sponsored by Tackle Warehouse, a $50 giveaway every single month. Yeah. We talk about, so we've got some really cool baits coming in. It'll be, the February, we call it the Tackle Warehouse Bass Geek box. And we've got some that I don't want to really give away. A little technique that I don't want to really show just yet, but I've been fishing it for about a year now. So, gotta beat everybody else to the punch. But we were on the water today. That's why you guys, I appreciate you waiting on me. Filming some content today, doing a little bit of fishing, trying to figure out where they're at. And we filmed 4 good how-to videos that are coming up real
Sweet.
soon. Some new baits that are coming from some companies that drop. Those are in the videos. And some pretty interesting techniques. So it's going to be pretty cool.
All right, we're gonna slide on over to Thomas. Thomas, Brucey told me we need to talk about this kayak tournament that you got going on right now. Your Ice Bowl Challenge, is that what it's called?
Yeah, we got the Frostbite Frenzy. I decided
The
to hold
Frostbite Frenzy.
Yeah,
I just call it Ice Bowl.
I decided to hold a winter tournament, so they were like, you know what, let it be the coldest winter in 150 years. So because of half my people were literally frozen out. This was the first time the Susquehanna River has been frozen in like 25 years, something like that. So I kicked it so it finishes March 30th. So it's now the winter pre-spawn event. I'm giving away $1,700 in prizes, and I think we have let me look right here. We got 18 people signed up right now. Closeout is not until the second week of March. Plenty of time if people want to hop into that. I think Brucey's already on the board. This is the first time I am doing a smallmouth division and an overall division. So don't fear if somebody catches a massive largemouth bag, I'm giving away a smallmouth division plus the biggest smallmouth in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. So that'll be a lot of fun. I will be at an expo, the Augusta County this weekend, but then next week, I have an interview that I recorded way back when with the Mighty River Recoveries. We are going through the whole issue that is going on in the St. Johns River and Florida when it comes to SAV, how this whole issue started with spraying and the decay. This was an episode I've been sitting on for a while, releasing it just before the St. John's event. So we're going to be talking about how they've been struggling down there and how they're trying their best to bring back the grass.
All right, guys. So a lot of great content coming up, a lot of great shows. I'll have an announcement, probably the next episode here, what's going on here at Basscast Radio. So it's a lot of great things happening. Really appreciate you guys all listening, tuning in tonight. And like I said, by the way, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page, Basscast Radio, so you don't miss an episode of Before the First Cast with Mr. Calvin Herndon. And me, Thomas Geek, and whoever else wants to show up and hang out with the boys right here on Basscast Radio. So have a great night, everyone. And we'll see you all really, really soon on the water. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Later.